good starts with him behind the plate. Everything else, I think, pound for pound, it's not even an argument. The amount of at-bats he's had, he is the worst hitter in all of Rays history.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs or Carl Crawford,
we're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season, they've gone to the playoffs, probably not in 2024, but keep watching nonetheless. And in the meantime, grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Do you think Stu watches YouTube TV?
Absolutely. When he has time, he divulges into YouTube TV. I've yet to talk to him about what his favorite show is, but I think he bounces around between the Rays and the Mets games on occasion.
I know he's a Bruce Springsteen guy. I know that from the Top Gun questions.
He listens to that on Sirius XM. So, yep. Good old Stu Sternberg. Got to have him on the show at some point. Maybe before the new stadium opens. We'll have to wait and see on that. Ulises, today we have what hopefully will be a fun, enjoyable topic for a Topic Tuesday episode. And with the way the year has been going on the field for the Rays, we thought, let's have a little discussion on the most hated / disliked Rays players of all time, speaking strictly about on-field performance. So we can more or less eliminate Wander Franco from this discussion. Just a guy that when you see him on the field, you're like, he's going to strike out, he's going to make an error, he's going to make a boneheaded play. I don't like watching him on the field. So that's what we have today.
Yeah, it's every time he's up to bat, every time you see him make a play, you're just like, I just don't like this. I don't like how he plays. I just don't. There's something about it I don't like. Sometimes you can put your finger on it. Sometimes you can't. But watching a lot of baseball like you and I have, and everybody that's listening right now and watching us on YouTube, I think you've watched a lot of baseball too. So everybody has a list of these players. We're supposed to just have fun with this. No personal attacks. It's just on-field performance. Although I know that we put up a poll and we're going to reference it later. Mm-hmm. I think some people just read the whole tweet. Yeah. Read the whole tweet.
I feel like we put it out there as clear as possible regarding that tweet. Couple things that I utilize in this exercise. One, just flat out bad, detrimental performance on the field.
Right.
Another, you have a guy who was signed to a relatively large contract, had a lot of pomp and circumstance when they were signed, coming to the Rays, and they just didn't live up to expectations for one reason or another. Same thing with prospects, draft picks. Hey, top-ranked prospect, top draft pick, and doesn't amount to anything or not much whatsoever on the field. Another consideration, just you can see that they don't seem to be enjoy being in a Rays uniform for one reason or another, and you see that through their attitude, personality, lack of effort, unsportsmanlike issues on the field, so on and so forth. And then little bit cheeky here, but constant injuries, unavailability from a particular player. I just wanted to throw all that out. So I have a lot of names that I brought into consideration. Would you like me to give you the names that I drummed up and then make my selection for the most disliked Ray of all time on the field?
Sure. Let's have a buffet of names.
Okay.
Let's get started. Yeah.
I'm going to give a buffet of names right now. Pat Burrell.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I did not watch him. He predated my Devil Rays watching days. Vinny Castilla. I've heard a lot of things about him. Jose Molina. Josh Lukey. Alex Jackson. Taylor Walls. Kelly Shopik. Tim Beckham. Delman Young. Elijah Dukes. Hunter Renfroe. That is more or less the list that I came up with a few moments of thought. And trust me, there are others for sure. And notice about that list is there are quite a few catchers there.
I think that's just a bias as a Rays fan to gravitate towards that, because the positives from a catcher are very difficult to see without putting some effort into looking at the stats.
Right.
In gameplay, you really don't see how much they're affecting it, but they certainly are. The issue with those catchers is that it is very, very difficult for a Rays catcher to apparently hit. I know that some people that are listening to this or watching this are going to be like, well, that's the case for a lot of other fan bases. And I understand that. And you're right. Catchers usually are not going to hit. However, it seems, just like it seems a little bit more prevalent with arm injuries with the Rays, and we all know why, it seems like for the Rays, catchers that hit is like the forbidden fruit. We just can't have it. It's like
very difficult.
We made a pact, and this was one of the caveats. You may not have a catcher that hits.
Yes. With that, and let me note a couple things. Kelly Shopik, I knew Ulises and we were in college and watched, unfortunately, a lot of Kelly Shopik not doing anything with the bat. I think we saw more bat tosses and broken bats into the stands than we saw hits or home runs.
My man
had to be pretty close. I think there was a period where, like, over a span of a couple weeks, he had 4 of those bad boys.
My man had the slipperest hands in all of the 727, because it happened almost weekly, honestly. And it happened so much that even BA started to like comment it. And then for BA to comment it, you're like, you can see it because, BA is the edgy one. But when Dwayne gets into it, now you're in a different kind of territory. And Dwayne started to get into it too. It was crazy, the whole, letting the bat just fly out of his hands. It was crazy. He does not make my podium.
Okay.
But I do remember being incredibly frustrated about his play performance, but he does not make my podium.
Okay. Maybe I'll go into my podium of sorts after you release your names, but I was leaning very heavily towards Alex Jackson, because Alex Jackson, it seems like the only redeeming quality about him is the fact that Taj Bradley had a couple good starts, or several good starts, with him behind the plate. Everything else, I think, pound for pound, it's not even an argument. The amount of at-bats he's had, he is the worst hitter in all of Rays history. And it seems like whenever I'm watching Alex Jackson, he's bobbling a ball or making a mistake or letting a ball get past him. Like, there seems to be a lot of issues there, which is a reason he's bounced around from organization to organization. Having said that, my numero uno is Jose Molina, just based on the fact, and look, I know it's not totally fair because the Rays brought him in for framing purposes and framing purposes only, and it worked. I know there's the whole numbers thing of how many runs he saved over his tenure with the Rays, but the fact that we had to endure him in the lineup for 281 games in 3 seasons, and him having no speed, no legs whatsoever. I think he almost got surpassed on a home run trot by Billy Hamilton or something like that. But he was a guy that you would watch and say, this is an athlete. I could go out there and outrun him and outdo some of the things that he's able to do. Framing pitches, he's elite at it. There's a reason why people have written so many articles about what he was able to do. But I would say Alex Jackson would push above Jose Molina if we see a year 2 of Alex Jackson. If we see a year 2 of Alex Jackson, he is taking the cake. I'll still give him another 30, 40 games or whatever, with the idea in mind that he will never set foot in a Rays clubhouse ever again, not as a major leaguer.
I mean, I want to just stamp that whole speech you just did and stamp it, seal it, send it for approval, and get that bill written into law, because all that you said is great. I will add on to that. Because when I used to watch Jose Molina, you know what? I can't even get to it.
Yeah, we'll let you give your diatribe here after we tell the audience about something that is very loved and very liked and very enjoyed, and that is PrizePicks.
It is PrizePicks. And you know why it's beloved? Because it's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Guess what? Around 2010, if you bet, I don't know, maybe Jose Molina is not going to get a hit today. You are probably right, and you are going to get some money. So today, there's no time to waste. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's right. I said $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay.
Yes.
All that you said, and then let's add a few more bullet points. Number 1, when you are a veteran, you're supposed to lead by example. When you're almost 40 years old and a pitcher who's 25 doesn't like how you are behaving on the field because your lackadaisical attitude is giving runners an extra base, that does not look good. And for those that don't remember that, because maybe you're not as old as yours truly, Alex Cobb did that to Jose Molina. And they got into it. And Molina didn't like it. But Alex Cobb was right. Don't go into the backstop crawling.
Yes.
Well, the guy goes from first to third. Like, why? Are we not supposed to be working together here? And you know what? If you're not healthy enough, that was kind of an issue there. If you're not healthy enough to just run, bro,
right? Maybe
you're not supposed to be a major leaguer. And you were saying, he didn't run.
He waddled.
He waddled, and it's like, if you're Poppy and you're like doing that, cool. You're hitting 40 home runs.
Yeah.
That is acceptable. You're Jose Molina and you're not running. You're not even like pretending to run. Chris Rose, when he had intentional talk, he actually said that he would beat Jose Molina at a race if they were ever to do it. Apparently, Molina didn't like that. Molina didn't like people calling him out.
Yeah. When
they were exactly in their right to do so. Jose Molina also makes my top most disliked race players ever. I just, even to this day, I get upset at the poor effort that he was showing when he had to do any sort of physical movement. Yeah. Just horrendous.
He was like that kid in gym class when you're supposed to be playing basketball or soccer or walking around the track, just sits in the back corner on their phone in their PJs, not doing anything.
Come on, like, wake up. So he makes my list. He was also incredibly, I know we've said this, but incredibly bad at the plate. People, if you don't remember how bad he was, I will let you know. At 39 years old, 80 games played. In 247 plate appearances, he had a WRC plus of 21. 21.
Yeah. Very bad.
Very bad.
Yeah, he ripped that last year in 2014, and it's clear why he didn't get another shot in the majors after that. It's almost Alex Jackson territory. And in those 3 seasons combined, I should note, had a 58 OPS plus, but that last year, 417 OPS, 22 OPS plus. Not good.
Okay. Not okay.
Yeah, there was a lot to dislike about that. Framing aside, and that's become a whole industry standard now. But it was rough. 1 season, I get it, but 3 seasons you have to endure.
You give me 3?
Really yeah.
Nah, fam. We're not doing this.
All right. Who else do you got on your podium?
Funnily enough, I think you hit on all of my names that I wanted to go over. So it means that we've drafted this team pretty well. I think I want to get into before we get into maybe some active players here. Hunter Renfroe.
Yes.
Hunter Renfroe, the guy has succeeded in every single stop of his major league career. And yet I said every single stop because there have been many stops. He hasn't even been
a good sign. It seems like something where he could be wearing out his welcome year in, year out.
Exactly. I mean, has he even hit free agency yet? Like, I think he's been in 5 teams without hitting free agency. That's crazy, right? I mean, he started in San Diego, gets to the Rays, goes to the Red Sox, goes to Milwaukee.
Correct.
And right now he's in
Kansas City. And then in 2023, he played for the Angels and Reds. So since 2020, he's played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams.
6. Unreal.
Yeah.
That tells you something. Like, if you're good, even the Rays are going to keep you for a few seasons, right? Like, even teams that like, oh, maybe we shouldn't keep this guy. Like, everybody, he wears out his welcome. Now, why is that? We don't know. We're not in the locker room, but you can always. Everybody here has a job, and you know what? When you don't like somebody at your job, it makes it very difficult. And although baseball is fun and it's just a game, it's a job to them. And when they show up and there's their coworker and he's just a dud, a negative Nancy, a whatever you want to call, a clubhouse cancer, that gets old real quick.
Yeah, and I think we forget how bad he was in a Rays uniform, and then went on to have pretty good success, really good success with the bat with Boston and Milwaukee. We're talking OPS above 800. I think it was just a case of, and who knows, maybe 2020 threw things off a little bit, but he just seemed to be a guy that didn't really want to be there and was not buying into what the Rays were selling as far as platoons, playing opportunities, where to play in the field, so on and so forth. And I think that added to some of the issues, not to mention there was a notable highlight in not such a good way that occurred in the playoffs against the Red Sox that year. So
yeah. I mean, he was the guy with the that double, right? Game 4, ALDS, game 3 maybe actually. Yeah, that's one that we will forever have, and the revenge of Renfroe just will always hit in a bad way. Yeah.
Anybody else that you got on your list there? Honorable mentions.
I don't want to get into them just yet, just in case you have a name of the past, but I now I'm on to active members here.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. We have more to discuss. We'll get to some listener comments on this as well. But first, we have to tell you about FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It is America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV based plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you have to do is get a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn Locked On, LOCKEDON, to download America's #1 sportsbook. So good, I'll repeat it again. FanDuel.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook.
I agree on everything about Alex Jackson here. He is now literally the worst catcher we've ever seen franchise-wise. Like, pick a category, he's dead last, or he's first in a bad category. Enough at bats have gone by where I have no hope that this is going to turn around. Now there is front office.
He is what he is.
Yeah, he is what he is. But they're gonna give him the next 30-something games, and you know what? Do it. Do it so we all know. Do it so everybody knows it's not happening. And then I think he will evade being on the podium.
Okay.
But currently, like you said, if you give me another Alex Jackson year, get that gold ready, baby. Get that gold ready. Call Jose, say, hey, return the gold medal. There's a new world record here. It's Alex Jackson, because you're taking silver. It's been so bad at the plate. And you mentioned something very good, which I know we cracked jokes with Kloski. I don't remember if it was during the episode or before we hit record or after, but the whole thing was, he's so good for Tosh. My goodness, Alex Jackson is so good for Tosh. And he was.
Right.
8-9 starts, boom, pitcher of the month. Awesome. Where are the people that said Alex Jackson was needed because of Tosh after Tosh's like 3 really bad starts? Where are those people? Where have they gone? Have they hibernated? I want to hear from you folks.
Yes.
You're quiet.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe a little bit conspiracy theory on Bradley's struggles. I don't know. Maybe he hasn't pitched like this in the majors and could be wearing out a little bit in the month of August. Might take some time to build him up and say, hey, can you hold steady for 130, 140?
Dog days.
Like so,
dog days, yeah, that happens. Yeah.
Could be some of that. But yeah, it's really, really bad. And it's funny because we'll put something out on social media and just randomly, Alex Jackson sucks. Why is Alex Jackson still on the team? I'd be curious to see the percentage of, or the amount of hate levied on Alex Jackson compared to Jose Molina if Jose Molina was playing in 2024, just based on the social media outrage, if you will.
Oh, that's good, because Molina did have the reputation built in with the glove, so maybe that would have given him more slack than with Jackson. Yeah, for sure.
All right, here we go. Let's get to some listener comments. Who do you think are the fan base's most hated / disliked Rays players of all time, based upon on-field performance or lack thereof? Jay says, I had a discussion with a friend recently that Taylor Walls is top 3 all time here. Well, Ulises, we know you're not the largest fan of Taylor Walls because of his offensive incapabilities.
And because with like Jose Molina, we know who he is. You can't tell me that Taylor Walls has something more in the tank offensively. Like, enough at bats have gone by, like more than 1,000 plate appearances. We know who Taylor Walls is offensively. Now, defensively, that's something else. He's a really good shortstop. He is really good defensively. But what do we stress here? Overall value. If your bat is so bad that I don't care that you make highlight moves, I'm sorry. Like, dude, like, you can't be carrying this guy for 4 years now. 4 years?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. And the other thing too that may not be fair, but I think his politics and how outward he is with it sometimes rubs people the wrong way and can be polarizing. And I think that sort of feeds into some of the dislike with Taylor Walls. And I mean, he got off to such a good start in his debut with the Rays. I remember his debut series was in Dunedin during COVID, and he was smacking the ball around like, holy cow, Taylor Walls, I mean, is there a spot for Wander based on how this guy is doing? And
yeah, and I think if you look at his numbers, he was like 120 with WRC plus in the minors. Like, I mean, this guy hit in the minors, and he has completely done the opposite at the major league level.
That is true. Homan Lee says Pat Burrell. Yes, Pat Burrell is a
good one
for sure. Came off the 2008 World Series. Rays signed him to a 2-year, $16 million deal to add a big bat in the DH role, and he hit just .218 with 16 homers and 77 RBIs, and was released 6 weeks into 2010. He also would get into it with Carl Crawford, and when Mark Topkin once texted him for a quote regarding a matter, he said, "Lose this bleeping number." So Pat Burrell, probably not the best guy, and if I recall, he went on to win a ring with the Giants after he left Tampa Bay. So, and it was crazy because Pat Burrell, like, that seemed to be as safe as a signing as possible. Like, yeah, he's going to get you an 800 OPS and 260, 270 batting average, 25 to 30 dingers, little under the radar signing, or under the radar player in comparison to the rest of the league, but he was amazingly consistent.
Yeah, he was solid. He was solid. And it was like a 2-year, 16 million, I think, contract. Like, I think he got paid like 7 to 8 mil a year, and it just did not work out. And yeah, you're right with the Crawford and then the Topkins stuff. Like, he was not a. He makes the podium, I think.
Yeah, he probably makes the podium there for sure. TG says Hunter Renfroe, F him. I'm not going to say what he spelled out there. Another J says Tim Beckham, obviously because of him being the first overall pick in 2008, rather than the Rays taking Buster Posey, and the rest is history. And Tim Beckham was not good when he got to the Rays, wasn't good after he left the Rays. And he also, there so many setbacks with the suspensions too. Like, it was one thing after another, and it was just problem after problem with him. Tyler Moore says Pat Burrell is up there, was the big signing after the original World Series run, and did very little for us in the field. Not to mention multiple stories of him getting into altercations with other players such as Longoria off the field. I didn't know about that, but thank you for enlightening us. Josh Garner says Pat the Bat. Jake Stokes says Jose Molina. Alex Jackson might be on his way to winning the Jose Molina Award, though. Sid says Tommy Pham. That's an interesting choice. Chris Snyder says BJ Upton. I mean, has anyone else been personally called out by Longoria? Second would be Tim Beckham. Elijah Dukes was just a horrible human and not necessarily a bad player. Well, he was a bad player with the Rays, and he only lasted 3 years in the majors. But Dukes certainly had his issues. Yeah, here's the thing about BJ Upton. I was always a fan of BJ Upton's talent, but I understand how he could rub people the wrong way based on his effort level at times. And it seemed like there was so much more he could have done with his abilities. Like, he put up numbers. He wound up getting that, $75 million deal from the Braves, but there was a lot of juice left in that bottle that could have been extracted. And there was a year or two where he was striking out like crazy too.
I mean, yeah. But I think it's crazy to say now, but boy, oh boy, would we all love to have BJ Upton back.
Oh yeah.
If we had a guy in center field doing what BJ Upton used to do, we would take that than the option that we have right now currently in the roster. Yeah. Also, Jose Siri might be getting up there.
Yeah, Jose Siri might.
I know, lovable, swag, whatever. It's so fun, loving, but when he isn't fun and loving, it's a drag to watch.
No, you're right. You're right. John says Brad Hopp, Vinny Castilla. Clancy says Jose Molina, 0 effort. And Triple B says Elijah Dukes, Ray Brignac for me. So there we go. I think we covered just about everybody. If we left somebody off the list or that wasn't considered, let us know. Maybe Elliot Johnson or something like that.
Elliot Johnson, yeah, the office clerk.
Yeah. Looked like the average Joe accountant. Did not look like a ball player.
No.
And there we go. So
this was honestly, whoever said it, the whole Alex Jackson might be getting the Molina award. We're going to. I have an idea for the off season. We're coining that. We'll give you props, but that's superlatives after the season with names of the past, and then you have to figure out what it is. The Molina Award, I think everybody knows that's going to Mr. Alex Jackson.
Yeah. 100%. All right. Hope you all enjoyed this exercise. Hit it up in the comments if there's some names that we left off. In the meantime, Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.